More Than Real Estate podcast is all about bringing life and energy to real estate without always talking about real estate. Look forward to interviews with influential members and industry partners. These stories will focus on their personal growth and incorporate lighthearted, inspiring, and sometimes funny segments, highlighting the fact that there's more to realtor life than being a realtor. I'm your host, Chantal Goddard. So today I am so grateful to be joined by Mr. Ian Hawking. He is a team leader of an incredible real estate team. He is a very active member in the community as well. And by the looks of everything on social media, a great family man. So thank you so much for joining us today, Ian. And just want to get to know a little bit more about you, about where you've come from, what drew you into real estate. And let's go from there.
Oh gosh, okay. So, it's the first time someone's called me a Mister in a while. I've been called many things, but Mister isn't usually the beginning. So
No.
thank you.
No problem.
Oh my God, what drew me into real estate?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, it wasn't like a design. I wasn't setting out to become a real estate salesperson. That really wasn't my aim. I mean, my wife and I and the family, we came here in 2003 from the UK, and I mean, like you do, the first thing I did was I got off the boat and bought something. And, I was a real estate investor in the UK. And when we got here, one of the first things I did was buy a sixplex. And
wow.
we still own it today. It's on Bayfield Street and
Nice.
in Barry. And we bought this sixplex, and it was like, I don't know, I guess it seems like the right thing to do. So in doing so, I got to know a real estate broker at Roller Page. His name was George Worrell, and he was probably my guiding light in those very early days as to what real estate was about. Actually, his wife, Liz, who's now retired, and of course, George has passed. But Liz and George were our sort of like early mentors, if you like. And
Nice.
After buying that sixplex, George was, I think, getting fed up with me running around because I got the taste, right? I mean, I bought something and I want to buy something else. And so George was getting run off his feet, I think, driving me around town, looking at every piece of crap, quite frankly, we could find. And I ended up, doing a few bits and pieces. But in the end, George said to me, he said, "You know what, Ian?" He said, "You got a pretty good personality for this business. You act well with people. You really know what you're doing, and you understand investing and some of the commercial sides of real estate. So why don't you just get your real estate license, and then you can drive yourself around, and you can buy whatever you want to buy, and you can just basically stop bothering me," is what I think he was saying. So I thought, why not? Seems like, I don't have a job. I came here from the UK. I was, always a bit of an entrepreneur. So, it sounds like fun. I'll get a real estate license. And actually, the thought that went through my mind is if I can make an extra 50 grand a year, like, why not?
Yeah.
I got to do something. And that was really it. So it really wasn't that planned. It was more a case of like, I'll stop bothering this agent, and I'll do it myself.
Very nice. What's one major word of wisdom that would have come from George that's always stuck with you?
Oh my God. Do you know, I remember this one so well. And if anybody's been in any of my trainings, they'll know this is always a pet peeve of mine as well. So for any agents that are sitting out there, if you ever want to send me off on a tangent, and if you ever want me to get on my soapbox and start preaching, talk about zoning. So I know it's like one of those things, right? I mean, it's like the most boring subject probably in the world. But I remember walking into that real estate brokerage on Roller Page and Ferris Lane there, and I went and saw George on like day 2 or day 3, and Roller Page at the time, they gave you at the time anyway, a big yellow book called the Yellow Pages, and the phone book was attached to that as well, and a desk and a phone, and that was it. And I kind of sitting there one day, and I thought, what do I do next? So I went and knocked on George's door, and I said, "Hey, George, what do I do?" And he went, "Go get a zoning book," as if like that was the thing I should have known. And a zoning book, like, what's that, George? And he said, "Don't they teach you anything in real estate school these days?" He said, "Go down to the city of Barry, get $50 out of your wallet, and go buy a zoning book." Now, remember, this is like back in 2005. So zoning books were real books. They weren't online. And it had this printout of the city of Barry and all these different pages. And there was all the zonings. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I said, "What do I do next?" He said, "Read it." So I'm like,
light reading.
okay, fair enough. I'll read the zoning book. So I read the zoning book. But I can tell you what I learned from that was that not every house has the same zone. I know it's an obvious statement.
Very true.
And different types of real estate have different zonings. And if you're going to do any kind of real estate, you should really know what it is you're listing. And I see today, so this is the soapbox moment. I see today on realtor.ca and with my fellow peers, you see the zoning RES in MLS listings.
No.
What's that? RES. What does it mean? It doesn't exist in the zoning book. It means nothing, nada. So RES just is an acronym for something residential, but if you actually look at the zoning book, it means nothing. So what does it take? 2 minutes these days to download the online zoning map or look up the property that you're listing and put the right in the listing. I mean, yeah, it's a soapbox thing. I'm sorry.
No, you're speaking my language with this. It's so important to make sure that that's the one thing with this business is there's so many different little intricacies that it's not just take some pictures, load them up, slap a sign on the front lawn.
No, let's be professional people, right? And we get paid a lot of money for doing what we're doing. What does it take to figure out whether a zoning is R2, TH-1, RM2, RM1, whatever it might be? Let's just be professional. I think that's what the public expects, and I think that's what they're paying us for. So, slapping in RES because you can't be bothered, in my mind, is no excuse.
Yeah, no. Do your due diligence. Be the professional, know what you're doing. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Absolutely. And you know what? I mean, there have been, Rico has nailed a few agents, even in the city of Barrie, over the wrong zoning. And, something one way when it was something else. I think I just check, cost nothing.
Well, and I guess that played well into the investment world and picking up properties and knowing what your uses were, the future uses and all that. So prior to getting into real estate, whenever you were back in the UK, you said that you were an investor. What else did you do?
Well, my actual career is, I guess you call it like merchant banking. If anybody really wants to get technical or into it, I was a portfolio manager in emerging markets, which means I spent a lot of time traveling the world, helping companies like Fidelity invest in places like Russia.
Cool.
Which was tremendously good fun at the time. And 1995, traveling down the main streets of Moscow with a bodyguard and thinking, wow, what have I got myself into, was tremendously good fun and quite well paid and great, just very dangerous. And when we had children, which was like 1997, my son was born, I was kind of having one of those moments of like thinking, God, I'm in a back alley in the back of a limousine with a bodyguard, and I'm about to have a meeting with somebody that I think might be legal, as in, in Russia, you were never sure exactly who you were talking to.
I don't think you can ask the question either, can you?
No, you can't. So anyway, but I was a portfolio manager. I co-ran a bank's portfolio of about $1 billion or so. And we advised fund managers all over the world how to invest in places that most people wouldn't want to go to.
Where the opportunities are.
Yeah, it's great fun. Yeah, I loved it.
That's really neat. And then for kids, how many kids do you have now?
So we have 3 children. There's two sons and a daughter, and it's like crazy thing. You come to Canada for a better life, and where are the 2 boys? They're back in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one
are
of them
back
works
in the hometown, or
no. Well, one of them works in a law firm. The other one's a pilot, and which is great. So got a 23-year-old pilot in the family, a 29-year-old son that works in a law firm, and then our daughter is here in Canada. She's just finishing off a math degree and a business degree at Laurier and Waterloo. So they're all doing great. So it's fantastic.
That's awesome. And then you run the team with your wife. How is that working with your spouse?
Well, that can be interesting sometimes. You can imagine some of the the dinner time tables that we might have. We always have a good laugh over some things as well. Yeah. And actually, it was last week we did a deal with each other, which doesn't happen
really
often. Oh God.
Please walk me through this. How did this
No,
go?
you don't want to know the details of that one. I mean, like we actually try not to do deals with each other because, for obvious reasons.
Save the
But
marriage. Yep.
well, yeah, I mean, there's the legal side of that as well. It never looks good,
Yeah.
right?
No.
But yeah, we did a deal with each other last week, and it's always fun. It's like, where's the waiver? Well, be patient. No, I don't want to be patient. Like,
That's
my
so
client
funny.
needs to get like Phil, just like, well, this is going on. This is going. It's like, oh, anyway, so whatever. We're still alive. We're still married, and nobody died. So
That's
it's,
amazing.
it's all good. But yeah, I mean, it's good because you understand each other.
Absolutely.
If you've got one spouse that's a real estate agent and the other spouse has a 9-to-5 job, uh, particularly if it's like a corporate job, like union driven or something like that,
Mhm.
the two do not marry. They really don't. I would say the flip side of that is sometimes it's nice to have somebody with a stable income, and
Very true.
the other person is generally a bit more entrepreneurial. But if you're married to a real estate agent, you've married into an interesting dynamic, and if there's two
You've
of
got to,
you,
yeah, you've got to be understanding.
yeah, you do.
Um,
And I've always been a little bit esoteric as well, so I don't just sell real estate. I've got the property management arm to our
yeah,
business, and I'm an investor still, and then a small development company. So I mean, anything to do with real estate, we get
wow,
involved in it, which tends to make me a very busy person. I'm a bit of a squirrel
absolutely.
as well. I admit it. It's like, oh look, that's bright shiny object. Let's have a look at
How,
that.
yeah, so the one thing that I do appreciate that you do, and that I know that a lot of the team members that you have do, is that right in your voicemail, it says Sundays is family day. How did that come about? Was that to try and bring some balance between work and business, or work and family life, or?
Yeah. Well, so is this going out to the public, or is this just for realtors?
It goes out, it's on all the major platforms, so
Okay. All right. Well,
answer however you wish.
I'm going to just answer this the truthful way. So here's what started to happen. We started to get busy in real estate, and
Yeah,
you know what it's like as a realtor. You tend to be on 24/7. There doesn't tend to be too many boundaries of like, you know what, I have a life too. And
absolutely.
so I threw that voicemail on there, and it literally says, if you're calling me on a Sunday, I'll get back to you, and I will get back to you. It would just be on my timeline.
Yeah,
Now, the truth of the matter is, if you're a client, we're going to pick up the phone. We know who
absolutely.
we're working with. We know who are serious. But
Yeah,
if you've just driven up from the GTA for a day, just because you feel like it and you've seen one of our listings and you want to kind of wander through and have a look because you feel like it, I'm sorry, you're not a client. And I mean, I have a responsibility to my seller, obviously, to show a home, but I don't
absolutely.
know who that buyer is. Maybe that buyer can buy, and maybe they can't buy.
Yeah,
You're not going to find that out by showing up to a house and showing them once on a Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. because it
absolutely.
suits them. The best method, I think, in my opinion anyway, is bring that person into the office, have a meeting with them, treat them like a consultative approach, find out what their YR is, and find out if they can buy something before you go and show them the inside of your client's home. you know
Absolutely.
Maybe they're just casing the place.
Yeah,
You need to know your client. So we have
yeah.
a much more consultative approach, and if you're not prepared to come and spend an hour in the office with me or on a Zoom call or something like that so I can get to know you,
Hmm.
I don't necessarily think that I should jump out on a Sunday afternoon at 3 or 4 p.m., go running across town to show you a house. So that message is put there as a kind of like a gatekeeper,
Absolutely.
to say to people, you know what, on a Sunday, it's my life too. And on a Sunday, honestly, I'm a workaholic. I'm probably working on a Sunday. But the fact is, I want to work with my clients, and I want to work on the things that I want to work on, not just because somebody's decided it suits them to show up and have a look at a house.
Absolutely. No, and I think that it ties back into the comments about the professionalism. And I find that there has been this shift within the industry with the public and how they perceive realtors, that they are just there to go and open the door. They don't
Mhm.
care. People don't seem to respect other people's time as much anymore.
Well, I think it's
And
knowledge as well, right? I mean, there are so
big
many
time.
realtors. Everybody sees it as a quick and easy way to make a fast buck.
Yeah,
And when you've got some of the practices that are happening today, I can understand why they might think that. Um,
absolutely.
you know, Everything's fine until it's not fine, and when it goes wrong or something happens, that's when you see the professionalism of the realtor, and that's when you figure out who's got the knowledge and who hasn't. So I mean, all our team are we don't have a huge team, we're definitely not the biggest team in town, but all our team members are very, very well schooled. And we do a regular or the team knows that if they have an issue with anything, they can treat me like a broker of record. I've got out of that game as well. And they can come and ask, and we'll sit down and we'll go through and strategize with the client on how best to achieve something. Probably 2 or 3 times a week, something crops up where you need that extra, how are we going to solve this problem?
Absolutely.
Type of thing. So
it's such a fast pace and such an ever-changing, evolving industry, even week by week with what's going on. And it's really for them to have you there as a consultant and to bounce ideas off you, whether it's the public or the team. I think that's absolutely great.
Yeah. I mean, we've always prided ourselves on that, on that thing, so if you have a problem, you come and ask, we'll figure it out together. That's the whole point of a team.
I think and you can apply that to so many other areas of your life as well, that if you don't know something, ask.
Yep.
Best way to try and figure something out.
Yep.
Diving into the property management side, is it just your own properties, or do you have other clients' properties, or?
No, well, what kind of happened was back in 2006 when we started selling real estate, we had clients coming to us and saying, well, I want to buy a duplex, I want to buy an investment property, and we would obviously help them buy it. And then the conversation would turn around to something like, so this whole tenant thing, like, how do I deal with them? I'm like, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And the conversation would invariably float around, not all the time, but maybe 20-30% of the time would float around to the idea of like, oh, I don't really fancy doing it. Can you do that? And I'm like, well, I guess we manage our own stuff. I guess I could manage it for you. And so we started to do it very informally. And after about a year, I'm like, hang on, there are liabilities up the yin yang with property management. It is not a money maker, it is a loss leader. So we took a look at it and said, you know what, we need a corporation. So we have a fully fledged property management business. It's fully insured, it's staffed. I think it's very professionally run, and we don't advertise. So everything that we've done on that side has been through word of mouth. It's for anybody that's thinking about doing it, it's not what it might be cracked up to be. It really is tenants and toilets. I have about 4 different court cases going on at the moment. I had a tenant threaten another tenant with a knife a couple of weeks ago. The police are involved. It's definitely an interesting environment to operate in, and we provide it as a service. It's not just our own, so we manage around 120 units or so. So we're not a big company by any means in property management sphere, and we don't make a lot of money out of it. But we do a good job, I think.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
it means I understand the Residential Tenancies Act as well. So
that is another huge part. So I was a paralegal, and I used to work for one of the larger corporations, one of the property management companies here. And I was at the landlord and tenant board 3 days a week. So I hear everything you're saying there. It's not a glamorous.
No, it is not glamorous at all. And especially at the moment with, the whole sort of COVID environment as well.
Yeah.
The landlords are taking it on they're starting to take it on the chin a lot more now than they did a year ago. When this first happened, the tenants were very amicable. Everyone was talking to everyone. Everyone was kind of fine. And now it seems like everyone's got this, I don't know whether it's COVID or they're cooped up for too long or whatever it is, but everyone's starting to really lose it. And, the tenants are starting to not behave themselves like the way they should do. Not all of them, but, there's always a few.
Yeah, it's a challenging world right now, especially for the mom and pop landlords that rely on the income to pay their mortgages. And it's very unfortunate to see what's unfolding with some of the properties there. But,
yep, absolutely.
Yeah. How did you end up getting involved with Christmas Cheer? I know, were you on the board of directors, or are you on the board of directors?
Yeah, I was the president for a couple of years.
Wow.
So I've been with Christmas Cheer for about I don't know if it's 6 years or 7 years, something like that. But I joined the board as the vice president to just, I think, bring some sort of, I don't know, some extra business connections, and also perhaps some thought process to how to take something that is wonderful, but is very paper based, and try to take it to a point where it's still great and wonderful, but perhaps it's not quite so paper based. And whenever you have a large charity that's sort of been run by really, really good people for many, many years, some of the systems and things become less reliable. And so I took a look at that whole structure of a structure essentially, and we reinvented it a bit, and I helped them with that. But I was the vice president for a couple of years, and then the president for 2 years, then the past president for a year. And I'm currently, I still serve on the board. I'm currently their technology director. And we're actually overseeing this past year with COVID that was around. We would usually have our sign up for help, which would be in person. And thanks to the Kozlov Mall, they would let us have a storefront for a week, and we would have people would come in and they would sign up. Well, we couldn't do that. So seeing what was happening and kind of wanted to take things in a slightly different direction anyway, I oversaw the development and the building out of the entire online sign up process, which, quite frankly, 9 months ago, we were sitting there scratching our heads thinking, can we even do this? Do we have the resources to do that? And we managed it. And I don't think it was perfect by any means, but we managed to service, I think it was about 1,500 families in the end, which was, close to about 4,500 people. And that entire process was done online. We set up a call center for the phone system, got morphed in because we figured that with everybody signing up online, there was going to be a whole pile of people that couldn't figure out how to sign up online, and they were going to make phone calls. So we ended up developing kind of essentially a mini work at home call center, along with a full online sign up and audit tracking process. And this year, instead of giving out toys and food, we actually had to give out gift cards. So we ended up having 14,500 gift cards that all had to be entered into the system, tracked, traced, figured out who got what gift card. It was quite the process, and it worked.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it's a phenomenal charity. I love the charity. I mean, it's been around since 1974, and children are very close to my heart, and anything to do with I think children should be children, and everyone deserves a Christmas. And this is a great local charity that helps people in Barrie and Innisfil and Oro and Springwater and Essa to have a Christmas who wouldn't otherwise do. And it's locally run. It's been local since 1974, and it's grown a lot. So yeah, it's been phenomenal.
I know a few people that have received the gifts from the charity, and I know it's made the world of difference for them, for their Christmas, for their family. And I'm sure, especially this year, did you have more calls this year or more demand this year for it compared to the previous years? Or
it was actually about the same. It may have actually been slightly less, and I think some of that was possibly because some people just couldn't figure out the online process, and they could have made a phone call and we would have helped them out. But I mean, it's I think, or perhaps some people are also saying, you know what, I kind of would like to get help, but I don't need the help. So let's leave it for someone that really, really needs it. So we had a different group. I mean, there was our regulars, but there was a different group as opposed to I don't anybody that wanted help could have called, they would have got it. But I think a lot of people also went to the food bank that was giving out financial aid this year as well. It's the same thing. I wish we didn't need it, but unfortunately we do. And if you think about it, I mean, if you took 5,000 people just around average, and you figure out there's about 150,000 people in Barrie, we're talking about, what's that, 2.5–3.5% of the population, something like that, roughly, of the city of Barrie, which means that 3-ish people out of every 100 need help from Christmas cheer. That's a big percentage.
It's a large number, and I think that's going to probably keep going with the way that things are right now. So quite
probably. We thought we would have a lot more people asking for help last year than we did actually, but so who knows.
So if somebody was interested in helping out and volunteering, because I know, well, I guess it's all going to depend on what happens this year, but if they're in a regular world, how do people go about signing up?
So, well, christmascheerbarrie.com is the website, and usually, if it's a normal world, usually around November the 15th, our website will open for volunteers, and people are welcome to go there and volunteer that way. We usually have around 1,300 to 1,400 volunteers that we need throughout the Christmas period.
Wow.
And we always have more than we need, always. Our local community is very generous. And I think we're very blessed to live in a city like Barrie where people care and are able to help. We usually have around 1,300, 1,400 volunteers that we need, and we always get more. So there's always a bit of a rush to sign up to help, which is really nice.
That's incredible to hear. Switching gears a little bit, what would you say is, given all your life experiences and everything that you've been through career-wise, what is your biggest piece of advice that you could give to somebody that's either A, looking to get into real estate, B, looking to get into the investment world with properties?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're a newish real estate agent, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is pick up the phone. I know that, millennial and social media and all that stuff, I get it. I totally understand, texting through whichever medium you wish to text through it can work. But I'll guarantee you 100% that if you sit down and have coffee with somebody, they will connect with you in a totally different way. I drink way too much coffee and whatever it might be, but I've found, in all honesty, break bread with people, connect,
Absolutely.
actually get to know your client and why they are doing what they're doing. The transaction, and if you want to be a transactional broker, be a transactional broker. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I've always thought that building the relationship was way more important than the check.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm actually just about to list a house next week, and that person contacted me 3 years ago, and we've just maintained a relationship. They've called me, I've shown them a few homes, I've given them advice over the years. We're trying to time it in the right way. This is a pretty critical move for that particular person. They're going to be retiring, so the timing has to be right, and the market right now is a great market to sell in. But we've been working with that person for 3 years, and that's okay. And that's not been a drip. That's not kind of some automated, I'll send them an email every 6 months or whatever it is, and eventually they'll either get tired or bite. That's not what I mean. I mean, make a phone call every 3-6 months. How you doing? You okay? How's life? Anything changed? And by the way, did you see this property? I thought of you when I saw it. That kind of conversation. When I have coffee, no reason at all, not to sell them something, just how are you? That I think is the biggest advice I could give somebody, is pick up the phone when it rings. Don't focus on the money. Focus on the why and the relationship. The rest of it takes care of itself. We actually stopped counting GCI in our office. We don't count GCI. I've got no idea how much the team makes. I keep an eye on people, obviously, but I don't know how much each individual person makes. I do know how many deals they've done, though. So we focus on the if you're doing a transaction with somebody, you're helping them move along. And that, to me, is probably more important than the money.
Absolutely. I think there's so much value in what you just said, that it's all about the money will come. That's the end product. That's the result of what we do. But if you're in it for the right reasons, and you are in it to build those relationships, have those human to human, belly to belly connections with people, that's the true gift that we have with this business. I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and yes, you can sit and do the transactions and count everything there, but whenever you're actually looking at them and helping them and doing it for their benefit and for their good and looking out for what's most important for them, it goes so much further. That's probably my favorite thing about this business. It's so rewarding from that standpoint.
Sometimes you might shoot yourself in the foot. And I have done, right? It happens. But when you do, hopefully, most of the time it's because you've helped that person, whatever it might be, I don't know, move to something else that works for them. If you do it in the right way, though, they'll send you referrals.
Absolutely.
And you help somebody out. We actually, I'll tell you something else we track in our team. How many referrals do you give and how many do you receive? It's actually, we speak about it every single Friday morning meeting at our team meeting. How many referrals do you give this week and how many do you get?
I love it.
And the target is give twice as many as you receive. So if you've received 10, I want to know why it is you didn't give 20. So we're focusing on how many you give. The getting takes care of itself.
Absolutely. That's such a great way and such a refreshing way to look at things. So it's nice to hear that that's the type of leadership that you have for your team.
Yeah, and we're always looking for good agents, by the way. So if there's anybody out there that
shameless plug, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not, right? I mean, we run a business too, but I mean, there are a lot of agents that might be thinking to themselves like, I don't want to do this on my own. And I always encourage every agent. In fact, one of my very best friends is just getting her real estate license, and she said, do you think I should join your team? I said, no, I don't think you should.
There you go. Honest advice.
I think you should go. I think you should go do it on your own.
Yeah.
And figure it out. And if you don't like being on your own, or you feel that if you're calling me every 5 minutes because you don't know what you're doing or that you're not getting the right guidance, okay, come and join the team. I might as well get paid for my time for giving out the advice. But I think everybody should try and do it on their own. But there might come a point where you say, I don't enjoy this aspect of the real estate business. I enjoy talking to people and working with people. I don't enjoy the admin. I'd like the extra piece of advice when I need it, and I like being in a team. I mean, the camaraderie you get, and I think just the ability to bounce off of a team member, somebody who isn't your competitor directly, is a good thing. So I mean, and that works for some people, it doesn't work for others. We've had people come and join our team and people leave our team. It's okay. We've always left, parted on great terms, and we're always looking for excellent talent.
That's great. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. I do a rapid fire segment at the end with a few questions. So
oh God, here we go.
Don't overthink. First thing that comes to mind, shout it out.
Kangaroo.
Wine or beer?
Definitely wine.
Wine.
Yep.
Red or white?
Red.
Okay, what country?
France.
Perfect. What is the best gift you have ever received?
The best gift I've ever received. I guess a compliment.
Oh, that's very good. And do you golf?
Yes.
What is
Poorly.
What's that?
Poorly. My handicap is my swing.
There you go. What's your favorite course to play on?
Oh, there's a course in Phuket, which is just dreamy. Nobody there. And I hate to admit it, but oh my God, this is going to sound really bad. There was a lady there who was a caddy. And I hired, I didn't know who I was going to get. And I hired this caddy, and this lady showed up. She was about 5 foot tall. And believe me, she could outplay me. She's like, no, 5-iron, 3-iron. I'm like, huh? And she knew her way around that course, but there was nobody there. It was like 80 degrees. People were running around giving me beers and God knows what else. It was the most wonderful round of golf ever.
That's amazing.
That was in Phuket. You have to go to the other side of the world to get to that one.
Hey, there you go. Whenever we're allowed to travel again.
Yeah.
Now you're sitting with a beautiful beach scene behind you.
Mm-hmm.
When you're golfing, are you in the beach a lot, or are you?
Well, I mean, actually, so my other passion is flying.
Cool.
I'm actually getting a pilot's license at the moment. I guess my son kind of got me into that, so I've let the cat out of the bag. Now I have to go and do it because I'm a student right now. But I know it's the total doodad, but what the hell? Why not? You go have some fun.
That's so much fun. And then travel. What is your top destination that you have not yet been to that you would love to go to?
I think the Seychelles before they disappear. I mean, like with rising sea levels, I mean, I've obviously never been, and it's definitely a place you take a book. And I'm not actually very good at doing nothing. I am the kind of guy that, I go to the most idyllic place in the world and everyone's sitting around and lounging around having a beer. 5 minutes later, I'm up looking around going, I don't know, got to go for a walk, got to do something. I don't do nothing very well.
No.
I'm a little bit of a workaholic as well. So to get me to switch off is a little difficult. My brain never stops. I wake up with thoughts and ideas, and if I'm in an idyllic situation, 5 minutes, I'm on that beach pacing up and down, trying to think about something, like swimming in the surf as well.
Strong D personality. That's what you get.
I've always got that kind of entrepreneurial sort of, I don't know, thought process go. You can always do something better. You can always improve. How do I construct something? How do I develop something? It's always going on in my mind. And I mean, if you lose me on that idyllic island, I'm probably in the surf. I'd love to swim.
That's awesome.
So I'm probably out there. I'll float around in the ocean for hours.
That's fun. And your favorite book, if you had to pick, or podcast or audiobook, however you absorb.
Simon
Sinek.
I think probably The Art of Why.
Yeah, that is a fabulous book.
Yeah.
There's so many great lessons in it.
I like Simon Sinek, period. I mean, he's just a great speaker. What? There's another book. This is not earth-shattering, but the story behind it is, if I can indulge you for 2 minutes in this one. Okay. So oh my God. So when I was like 16, or so, I think I was 16. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. All right, so everyone's heard of it. And it's one of those staple books. My dad gave me that book when I was 16. And I read it, didn't understand it. No. Nothing, didn't get a thing. I don't know what he's talking about. I was 16, and it was an old paperback thing, and I threw it on the shelf, and I didn't read it again for another 8 or 9 years. Wow. Again, when I was 24, 25, I'm like, there's some cool stuff in this book. Still didn't get it. I probably read that book, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. I must have been, I'm thinking, 40 years old. And finally I'm going, oh my God, this book has got layers and layers and layers in it. And it is a phenomenal book, absolutely phenomenal book that I think everybody should read. But I'm not going to give the secret away, but that book has got something in it that if you read it and read it and read it, I saw it anyway, at least I think I saw it. That would be on my top pick list. That's awesome. For sure.
Those are 2 fabulous ones. Have you ever gone through the Find Your Why workbook with Simon Sinek stuff? Yeah. It's pretty powerful whenever you can sit and realign your.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I really do. I mean, I think, there's a theme with all of them. I mean, any time you read a self-help book, I think it's a good thing. And, the world could do with a few more of that type of thought process going on. I mean, I think some of them do get a bit repetitive as well. But overall, whichever medium, whichever book it is, whichever person it is that speaks to you, great. That's the one.
Yep.
Go with it.
Absolutely. No, this has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing all of this with us. You're an incredible person, and I'm looking forward to having you joining our committee as well.
You're welcome.
No, it's we need more people that have the level of professionalism and the care for the people that they're working with, their clients, and team members, and just the industry as a whole. So, and your community involvement too. No, it's absolutely great. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for the invitation. Anytime. It's totally my pleasure. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, have a great day.
All right, we'll do. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, bye now.
Thanks for listening. To hear our other episodes, be sure to subscribe, and we would love it if you could leave us a review.